afternoon to you from wherever you may be watching us. This is Sports Live right here on SABC News. I'm Kate Nock. We've got a lot to discuss this evening, including Proteas' embarrassing defeat at the ICC Cricket World Cup. That's our big story today. But of course, the Springboks are still around the country showcasing that fourth world title. The trophy talk does continue. It was in my side of the world this early on today in the Eastern Cape. And my people, East London and Tanzania, they didn't disappoint. Thank you. I see you. The likes of my Pimpis and Lukanyu, they were leading that chart as Siya Kolisi returned to that brass at trophy tour. It will continue next year. If you missed out, don't fret. They'll come into you Limpopo, they'll come to you Venda. They promise that they're going to see all South Africans. But first, a quick look at your headlines.
Kuldiviada to continue.
Oh, that's the end of that. That is a shellacking.
South Africa suffered an embarrassing defeat against India in their top-of-the-table clash at the Cricket World Cup, losing by 243 runs in Kolkata. In the last leg of the Rugby World Cup trophy tour, the Springboks shared their moments of glory and jubilation with thousands of their ecstatic supporters in East London and surrounding areas. And we're going to continue later on. Mamelodi Sundowns are playing up against Wydad Casablanca in Morocco in the first leg of the African Football League. Unfortunately, we begin this show with some tragic news. AmaZulu FC have announced the tragic passing of their 32-year-old striker Bongi Ntuli after he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer recently. Ntuli fell ill a few weeks ago and was subsequently hospitalized. The striker, hailing from KwaZulu-Natal, had recently gotten married to the club CEO Sinenjalo Zungu in a grand wedding ceremony held in September. Zungu is a daughter of Sandile Zungu, the club's owner and president. In addition to AmaZulu, Ntuli had also played for Golden Arrows, Mamelodi Sundowns and Platinum Stars. He rose to prominence during his time at Arrows, where he quickly became a highly sought-after forward due to his exceptional scoring abilities between 2012 and 2014. Our sad condolences to him and his family. Let's move on to this story now, where South Africa suffered an embarrassing defeat against India in their top-of-the-table clash at the Cricket World Cup, losing by 243 runs in Kolkata. India won the toss and batted first, scoring 326 for 5 before bowling the Proteas out for just 83 runs, their lowest ever score in a World Cup. Virat Kohli was the host's best batsman with an unbeaten 101 runs, which equals Sachin Tendulkar's record of the most centuries in a one-day internationals. In the South Africans' innings, Marco Jansen top scored with just 14 runs, while Ravija Jadeja took 5 wickets.
The Proteas were under pressure right from the start of the game. A combination of poor bowling and excellent batting allowed India to post 61 without loss after just 5 overs.
At the 50.
Kagiso Rabada took the wicket of Rohit Sharma for 40 in the 6th over, while Keshav Maharaj got rid of the other opener, Shubman Gill, who scored 23 in the 11th over. The Proteas managed to bring down the run rate after that, but Virat Kohli and Shreyas Iyer always looked like they were in complete control as they paced the innings to perfection. Kohli went on to score his 49th century, equalling the record for the most one-day international centuries held by compatriot Sachin Tendulkar.
35th birthday, his 49th ODI 100, and the umpteenth time that he set up the Indian batting.
All 5 of the Protea frontline bowlers took a wicket, but the Indian batting attack was especially severe on Marco Jansen, who conceded 94 runs in 9 overs and 4 balls. Kohli finished on 101 not out.
100 made, a formidable total on the board, and the crowd alive.
The Proteas and India were the only 2 teams who had booked their place in the semi-finals before the game started. But this performance showed that they are in no way on the same competitive level.
The Indian team was waiting for. Now then it's carried, I think it has. Once again, it's Mohammad Shami.
India remain unbeaten in the tournament thanks to being a well-balanced side. Both their bowlers and batsmen are the best in the competition, as other sides can attest to. They are the uncontested favourites to win the World Cup, but the Protea fans would have liked to see more fighting spirit from their team.
See an easier catch than that.
Both teams have one game left, and the Proteas take on Afghanistan on Friday, while India face the Netherlands on Sunday. Harry Olivier, SABC News.
Well, the Proteas may have suffered that heavy defeat, but they are assured of a semi-final berth at the ICC Cricket World Cup in India. South Africans' focus now has shifted to that Cricket World Cup following the Springboks' victory at the 2023 Rugby World Cup in France last month. Pressure is surely mounting now for Themba Bavuma and company at the subcontinent. Is this the Proteas' time to shine against all odds? Are they taking inspiration from their rugby counterpart? To have that discussion and much more, all things concerning cricket, we're joined in studio by sports journalist Khanyiso Chwaku, as well as Lions cricket bowler Ayavu Myoli. Thank you so much, both of you, gentlemen. Let's start with this one. Global Trotter, how was France?
Look.
6 weeks away from home?
7.5 to 8.
Oh, God.
But look, the job was completed. The Boks came back with the trophy. So
mandate was,
who are we to complain?
mandated.
Who are we to complain? Despite what transpired with the slur, with the alleged slur, I don't think it's something we can actually say on air. But the slur, now that's been moved into a lot more things. Look, Boks are back. They are touring. They're celebrating. I mean, they've won a 4th World Cup, and in winning a 4th World Cup, they're the second team to defend it. So, whichever way you look at it, they did it the hard way. The thing is, they can't be begrudged at the fact that they are defending World Cup champions. Yes, they won by 1 point, but I think you will understand, especially after the Pakistan game, where South Africa won by 1 wicket. At the end of the day, everyone will remember that you won by 1 wicket. They won't ask how you did it.
Yeah,
you won. That's what matters.
Okay, does that put pressure on Themba then?
It does. I mean, look, captains will captain. They'll bring a particular feature to a team. But what makes things rather difficult for Themba at the moment is that the team is winning, is not scoring runs. And then it becomes slightly more magnified when the team loses and it doesn't make runs. I mean, on that particular surface, I mean, India were able to make 327 on that pitch, and South Africa just literally could not get out of first gear. But you also look at how India adapted better to what were clearly conditions that they understand better than everyone else. But I think what needs to be made clear is that Themba's not the first nor the last South African captain to struggle at the World Cup. I mean, Hansi Cronje struggled for runs in the 99 World Cup. The team got to the semi-finals. Graham Smith, 2011 World Cup. You also didn't have the greatest of time with the bats, but the team exited the quarter-final stage. So I think what becomes very important is that if he's able to score runs when it matters, because South Africa have not qualified for the semi-finals. That's one. He's got the Afghanistan game on the 10th to get himself back into form. I think the key thing is that if he delivers in that semi-final, in the same way he was able to score runs. I mean, if you look back at the England game, for example, at the start of the year when South Africa needed to win that second ODI, chasing that tall total in Bloom, he delivered. And that was a game, had we lost that game, the World Cup wasn't going to happen. So he's already shown that he has the ability to score runs when it matters. Form, sometimes, I think Aya will speak more to this, but you can't control when form tapers. I think that is prudent for any other batter. But the key thing is if he's able to score runs when it matters, the runs he didn't make in the build-up to the semi-finals won't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're picking up on that, Proteas qualified for, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. They may have lost that game against India heavily so, against India heavily so, Aya, but they're still qualified for the semi-finals. What do you believe is a feeling at camp now, considering they have that in the back, but also still performed as badly as they did against India? Perhaps let's start about the feeling of just qualifying for the semi-finals with 2 games to spare.
Yeah, man, I think they've done well in terms of their batting. The top 6 guys that have been batting for the country in setting the score. I think the only worry is they've chased 3 times. Yeah. The first one we lost, and then the second one we barely won against Pakistan, and then the third one is this against India, and we scored a low total. I think that should be a little bit of a worry in the camp, or something that to work towards too. So we still have 1 game left against Afghanistan. So I think I feel like if we play against Afghanistan, I think we should sort out our weaknesses in terms of chasing.
Yeah.
So that's where I felt we struggle at. And I think qualifying, I think India is unbeaten in the World Cup. I think they've done very well in this World Cup, and I feel like the guys. It was. I feel like for them it was like a final, with playing with that a lot of guys in the field and a lot of crowds they're attending in India. So I think they got a feeling what they're gonna feel when they go to the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to pick you up on that, Chwaku. Does this help South Africa in case they meet in India in the final?
Well, firstly, you need to get past the semi-final. We cannot afford to get ahead of ourselves when it comes to the men's national team, when it comes to the issue of semi-finals. They've been to a lot of semi-finals, 92 semi-final, 99 semi-final, 2007 semi-final, 2015 semi-final. And in those 4 semi-finals, for reasons we have to understand, there was rain, there was the choke of all chokes, there was that 27-5 in St. Lucia, there was the semi-final that hurt in 2015 in Auckland. Yeah. None of those South Africa got past those games. Yeah. So before we even start to think about a final, South Africa need to win a semi-final.
But I mean, we've heard Rob Walter and we've heard Themba Bavuma. They're not looking that far ahead.
Yes.
So this is a conversation that we're having with ourselves. Like, for example, we're thinking, okay, we're either going to get Australia or New Zealand now in the semi-final. Teams that we've beaten comfortably leading up to this tournament. So to look ahead to India is something that we're doing, not something that they're doing. But like this game, surely there are lessons to this game. Should they meet in India in the final? Yeah,
I think if we meet in India in the final, I think, as I said, if we prepare in terms of preparation for this, I think sometimes it's good to go into the semis with a loss, because where guys have to think and sit down and talk and also be hungry to win and know what is it that makes them tick as a team. Yeah. So if sometimes you get into that winning mode, sometimes you forgot how to lose or forgot how to fight. So I think they're gonna come there. I think all the guys are hurt by the total that they scored, and they're gonna get there as a team and sit down and say, okay, let's fight this for our country. I think everyone is keen to win and everyone is hungry to fight, and also there's that tag that's been around them. Yeah. And with the Springboks that have won the Rugby World Cup, I think it gives them a bit of hope that we can do this and fight all the way and take it.
Feel free to disagree.
No, I'm not disagreeing with him. It's just that even with India, for example, it's not a given that India can make the final, because latterly, there haven't been a side that has actually done well in knockout games. Okay. If you look back at the 2017 Champions Trophy, they coasted through the tournament, but Pakistan caught them on the hop in the final. Even in the 2019 World Cup, India looked at least a team that was odds on to face England in the final. New Zealand caught them on the hop in that semi-final in Manchester. The thing with England, with India, is that they are looking convincing at the moment. Yeah. But the one thing you don't want as a team, and I think Aya slightly alluded to it, you need to be tested going into a knockout game. And I think what South Africa have taken here, a lesson, is that they've been burnt by a chase. I think the wide margin of this defeat is one that's very important, in that it will then also just take them down from the heights of the 300 plus totals they've been making batting first. Because at the end of the day, if you want to prove yourself as a World Cup winning team, you need to prove yourself in the heat of a chase. And I think if you look back, especially in Asia, if you looked at how Sri Lanka, when they won the 96 World Cup, which was a World Cup that was the first floodlit one in India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, it tested teams who batted second. Yeah. I mean, in India, for example, in Calcutta, they played the very same ground. They played against Sri Lanka in the 96 semi-final. They won the toss, bowled first, and the pitch deteriorated. They ended up the game was actually stopped because of crowd interference. So they know the pressure of not performing in those games. So I think that the other teams will know that India could probably get through the pool stages unbeaten. But that then raises expectation for India to perform. Yes. I mean, look, let's not even go there. The expectation on India to perform may be all-consuming for them, whereas the team that faces them will understand the occasion, but will only realize that you've just got a game of cricket to play. Whereas for India, the game becomes the occasion. So that's why now the team that actually probably face India in the playoffs is probably the one that's best suited. So if it's an India-Pakistan, because also can't rule out Pakistan.
Yeah.
Especially with how they tend to play well when no one expects them to. Let's not be surprised if we get an India-Pakistan semi-final, and then somehow Pakistan find their best cricket and somehow register their first ever World Cup win over India. So there's still a lot of variables. And I think when you look at South Africa was probably finishing second. Who do you want to face?
It has to be Australia. I'd
go, look, either way. The problem with Australia are probably the best tournament team.
Yeah.
Do you want to face Australia in the
semi-final? But surely you have to get that 1999 monkey off your back sometime.
But Australia, you can't write Australia off.
No, not saying writing off, but if South Africa is going to feel like they're a team that can actually win a semi-final, it has to start with Australia, surely.
I'd say semi-finals and finals, it's on the day, yeah? It's on the day. You forget about your past of group stages and everything. It's a game on the day. I think with our team, what we've done, I think our weakness is kind of every team knows what we've been struggling with.
What is our weakness?
That was chasing.
Okay.
We've been struggling with chasing and we've been losing badly on that. I'd say maybe in the semis guys can tick and get it right. I'll say we've got one more group stage game that we're playing against Afghanistan. If we get into that game, we take ourselves and say, well, maybe let's chase again. If we win the toss, we put them into bet and we chase.
Yeah. So weakness, we've identified. What's South Africa's strength? I mean, obviously, we've seen
Look
the top
at
six
batting first.
Yeah.
I mean, South Africa have literally hitting six for fun when batting first. And this is where Aya is very much correct. You are not going to win a World Cup batting first all the time.
Yeah.
South Africa need to find the right time to exercise the chasing demon. That Pakistan game was unnecessarily close, but also very necessary to actually ask guys deep down, do you really want to win this World Cup? But do you want to do it in a manner that is cold, calculating, and convincing? Or do you want to do what the Boks did and keep people on tenterhooks with 1 point wins? The thing is now, for South Africa, a semi-final now becomes just more than a game, and that's where my slight concern lies. That the Proteas across all ICC tournaments haven't been to a semi-final since New Zealand, since the Auckland game against New Zealand. That's 8 years. It's a long time. So the one thing that helps with is that there's not a lot of baggage from that very painful night in Auckland.
Yeah.
But also now, you've also got a bunch of players who have struggled with some pressure moments. For example, I mean, you look at the Netherlands game in the T20 World Cup last year. That was easily the most disappointing game in South Africa. 9 out of 10 should have won that game. And to go back to Aya's point, it was a chase. And we lost in a chase. But it's very important that the chasing demon must not just be exercised in a round-robin game, but it must be exercised in the most convincing. And I mean, South Africa's only win, ICC tournament win in '98, the Champions Trophy. They had to chase twice. They had to chase against England in the quarterfinals, and they had to chase against West Indies in the finals in '98. And South Africa's other playoff win in ICC tournaments against Sri Lanka in the quarterfinals of the World Cup in 2015 came in a chase, but they were chasing 130. That's when JP Dumini took a hat-trick. So that was a minuscule chase. So for South Africa to at least, and remember that all of South Africa's chokes have come in chases. Yeah.
You have to have the final say. You are Rob Walter. How do you strategize for what's coming now?
I think
forgetting Afghanistan, but like looking ahead now to the semi-final.
I think you just look at the positives as a team. The guys have done well. The games that they've played, they've done well. I think you can't be judging guys the 2 games that they've lost and judging them on that. I think in the semi-finals, in semi-finals you need everyone to be taking, everyone being on the positive mindset and also being prepared to take it all the way. I think only thing that they should do now is work on the positive game, because I know the pitches have been deteriorating because there's been a lot of cricket being played in those wickets. So there's going to be more spin into the wickets. So I think guys should be playing. We've got guys that can play all types of cricket. We've got your David Miller, your Henry Claessens, your Tembas that can play spin very well. So I think there's nothing missing in that team. Yeah. So it's up here. I think the guys should just remain positive and get to the semis and fight for the country and fight for the badge.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you both. Thank you so much. That's sports journalist Khanyiso Chwako, as well as cricket Lions bowler Aya Myoli, joining us, talking about all things the Proteas after their loss to India, but they have qualified for the semi-final, so it's not all doom and gloom. South Africa, we are envisioning a double tour bus there with Temba, and listen, we're optimistically waiting for that. Temba and Sia. Imagine. Listen, Nelson Mandela didn't even see that coming. I know they're saying I like stories, but listen, that's not even something Nelson Mandela could have thought of. But anyway, stay with us right on Sports Live. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Mamelodi Sundowns continue to raise the South African flag in continental competitions. The ladies will begin their CAF Champions League campaign tonight against JKT Queens of Tanzania at 10 p.m. tonight, so don't miss that one. While the men are at Wydad Casablanca of Morocco for the first leg of the African Football League final. The second leg will be played in Pretoria next week, Sunday, on the 12th of November. Well, let's take you quickly now to Casablanca in Morocco, where, still goalless after 20 minutes. We've got Ronan Williams there down, if I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, that should be him. As you expect in Morocco, in African countries, those lights just flashing on their players. But let's listen through to the commentary. Yep, we'll see those lasers you'd expect in that side of the world, and absolutely not the friendliest to go and visit, especially if you're in the south of Africa trying to beat a team from that side of the world. But that's the final, the AFL League, the first leg of that final. Mamelodi Sundowns against Wydad Casablanca, hosted by Wydad Casablanca. That's the first leg. The second one, as mentioned, will be in South Africa next week, Sunday. So we're looking forward to Mamelodi Sundowns already, winning that title, which will be in the inaugural tournament that it is. I can tell you this, already guaranteed 56,000 Rand just by being in this competition alone. So there's a lot of teams yet to catch up as far as money is concerned in South Africa. But that's the story now. It is goalless in Morocco. It's South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns up against Morocco's Wydad Casablanca. That's the first AFL final, the first leg. But let's move on now to the Springboks, who have shared their moments of glory and jubilation with thousands of their ecstatic supporters in East London and surrounding areas earlier today. This was the last leg of the 2023 Boks Trophy Tour. Springbok captain Siya Kolisi rejoined the team after missing out on the Durban leg on Saturday. The four-time Rugby World Cup champions visited Pretoria, Johannesburg, Cape Town, and of course KwaZulu-Natal in the past few days.
The Springboks began their East London tour at their hotel and then went via the streets of East London. In Mdantsane, they were welcomed by the multitude of excited fans. The Springboks players who hail from the Eastern Cape were happy to be back home to inspire future generations.
It's purely celebrations at the moment. I think what it did is very historical. When it's time to look forward, I think the coaches will make plans for that, and us as players, if we're good enough for the next World Cup, that's when we'll make plans. But at the moment, it's purely celebrations.
It's been unreal. The people come out in numbers, support us. I can't explain it in much. It was my first time also. It's just unreal. Yeah.
The Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Zizi Kodwa, thanked the Boks for their sacrifices.
Today is the last leg of the trophy tour. They're quite exhausted, and I do want to thank them for making time to share their experience and love with South Africans. There's nothing that was forcing them to do this, but they're doing it to make sure that our people do celebrate them.
Some of the fans who were in France to watch the World Cup and the Springboks were also present to welcome their heroes.
Going to France was another thing. It was just amazing to be in Paris with the boys, to meet with them there, and to be so close to them.
This was my outfit for France.
So you went all the way to France?
My wife went to France, yes. We were there for 2 weeks. We watched the Ireland game, watched the Namibia-Tonga game, and South African-Tonga and Namibian-Uruguay game in France.
The Springboks, they just know how to show up. And you know, I'm running 10 games for the Springboks, my man.
In Kabeja, fans were upset that they missed out on the trophy tour.
I think it's a missed opportunity. You know, the Eastern Cape is one of the biggest rugby provinces in South Africa, and I say that with modesty. We have some amazing talent, some amazing players.
I feel that it's really unfair for the fact that Siya is being from here, and also the coach apparently is from here.
They have a lot of excuses now, and with the whole World Cup we stand 100% after the boys, because they was in France. We make videos for them, and look now, but it's very, very, very disappointing.
The Boks might be done with the tour for now, but more tours are expected to happen next year. Vincent Situra, SABC News.
The Lions, meanwhile, winning drought in this season's United Rugby Championship continues. Benetton beat the Johannesburg-based side by 15 points to 10 in the third round of the URC in Treviso, Italy today. The Italians scored 2 tries to 1 and enjoyed a 7-3 lead at halftime.
The Lions were looking for their first win this season after 2 close defeats. Benetton were eager to record their first win in 3 outings against the Lions. The Italians enjoyed the better start, with centre Malachi Fekitoa going over after just 5 minutes of play.
Into the 22, Fekitoa's with him, he's dummying, he's stretching and he's home.
But the hosts followed that up with a few disciplinary errors, and Jordan Hendrickse got the Lions onto the scoreboard in the 18th minute. Despite dominating the rest of the first half, the Lions could not turn their opportunities into points. Benetton enjoyed a 7-3 lead at the break. The second half continued to be a frustrating affair for the tourists. In the 56th minute, Benetton replacement Jacob Umanga stretched his side's lead to 7 points with a successful penalty. But with 17 minutes to go, the Lions' persistence finally paid off. Replacement prop Asanati Ntlabakanye crashed over for a converted try, and matters were level at 10 points apiece.
158 kilos of South African beef power the Lions back into this match.
Moments later, however, the home side struck back. Argentine international Ignacio Mendy scored to put the Italians in the lead with around 10 minutes to go. Despite a ferocious late onslaught from the Lions, Benetton managed to hold on for a 15-10 win. The Lions therefore remain winless after 3 rounds. With 2 victories and a draw, Benetton remain unbeaten. The Lions will next take on the Scarlets in Llanelli next Saturday, while Benetton will host the Stormers earlier in the day. Liesel Willifeer, SABC News.
Let's switch focus to hockey now, where the women's team has qualified for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games next year. The women beat Nigeria 9-0 in the final match of the African qualifiers at the University of Pretoria. To talk us about that and much more, we're joined on the line by Gills Bonnet, their coach. Gills, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Congratulations for qualifying for 2024. How is this news received by the camp?
Yeah, fantastic. The players are ecstatic, and we're just very pleased that we booked the ticket for Paris.
Yeah, overall, how are the qualifiers in Pretoria this week? And do you believe that you've prepared now enough for what's to come next, being the Olympics?
Yeah, we prepared well for this particular event. We had two camps building up to AFCON, and in the past we've struggled in these particular tournaments, but we did really well in the semi-final and in the final, and I think we showed that in Africa there's a big gap between ourselves and the rest, and we're looking forward to moving in and competing in Paris in July next year.
Let's talk about that gap. In the past, SASCOC has refused allowing this team to go through as AFCON winners because of the standard of competition. Firstly, how was that for you guys, like the disappointment that comes with that, but also what has been the cause behind this turnaround now?
Well, I think, for us, we have a team that's most probably now, we ranked most probably after this particular event, round about 13th or 12th in the world, which is, within the ranking of the top 12 in world hockey. And having qualified, only 12 teams go. We're pretty competitive in world hockey, and we want to obviously improve that. And we've got 6 months in which to see how close we can become with the top teams, and if we can get a centralized program in place and more time on task, I think that we can become very competitive with the young group that we have, not only for Paris but also looking forward to LA 28, where we have 15 players in our group that could also participate in that particular event as well.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure, but can you zoom in on maybe why you believe that the Olympic House has changed its mind now in this stance?
I'm not sure what the stance is, but I never. We are not of the opinion that we're not going to Paris. We are of the opinion from our association that qualifying here at AFCON gives us the ticket to qualify for Paris.
Oh, okay. So that's still probably a conversation that they're going to have among themselves.
I would imagine so. I think our information that we have is that if we win it here at AFCON, we automatically book a ticket to Paris next year, which we're very excited about.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Congratulations for that. The country will definitely be behind you should you get that, should you be given that go-ahead. We're crossing fingers for you. But where do you believe the standard of women's hockey is in this country right now?
The standard of women's hockey at the moment in South Africa is excellent. We have fantastic school structures. We have great development, and if we look in terms of where we are globally, we compete very favorably with most of the top teams.
Yeah, unlike your male counterparts, you guys had only one opportunity to qualify for the World Cups, for example. Did that put an added pressure on you?
Well, I think it does. There's no second chance for us, and I think as a result of that, you want to make sure that you leave nothing to chance. And I think the control that we showed at this particular tournament was excellent from the players themselves. And I think in the past it's been very close. Normally the team is winning by 1 goal, and we won very convincingly today.
Yeah, congratulations again. Like, that's quite phenomenal. That's quite a result. But what's your preparation going to be like now, Gills, going forward for the 2024 Olympics?
Yeah, I think it's we play Germany in 1 month's time. They're coming out to South Africa. We've got games scheduled over the next 6 months against teams that will come out to South Africa. And we want to build ourselves into quite a formidable team and look not just to compete at the Olympics, but we want to go out and make a real impression at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, let's talk about that, considering that you've not done well in the past. Obviously, there's a lot of things that goes into that, considering you guys are part-time players that you take into the Olympic Games against teams that do this on a daily, on a regular basis. But so what would be a realistic target this time around?
Well, I think for us, we have some good support in terms of centralizing our program and making sure that we can have time on task and look at programs that can support us to match what the other international teams are doing. At the moment, a lot of those teams are fully professional, and we are looking to centralize. We are looking to get at least 10 days every 3 weeks together. And that will make a massive difference for our program and build in 25 test matches between, January and July. And if we can do that, then we can get some parity with the teams that we will compete with in July next year.
Yeah, and just getting word now that your male counterpart have actually also just qualified, beating Italy now in their last match. I'm sure that's probably what is happening in your household. I saw a little bit of distraction there. Word on them?
Absolutely. It's very exciting here at the moment.
Yeah, you know, some of the challenges that we've seen with the hockey, for example, is that the issue of sponsorships, that sometimes you guys go into these world tournaments. Obviously, Paris is going to be different, considering that the entire team South Africa will be dressed by the same, you know, same clothing that the Olympic House will allocate for you guys. But like some of the challenges that you've faced since you've taken on this job, that that may perhaps someone listening out there can help you guys out with, especially something like sponsorship.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think for us, we have very good support from SuperSport. You know, so our matches are televised, and I think for corporates who are interested in the mileage that comes as associated with that, we can offer that sort of exposure to corporates in terms of television coverage for the games that we play. We also have a very good footprint in terms of social media. You know, we're a female sport, and at the moment that's very topical for us and for the country, but the world at large. And you know, we're a team that has huge potential in terms of not only doing well, we believe, in Paris, but also we think that we can grow this team with fantastic talent, not only in Paris but also through to the following Olympic Games.
Yeah,
we see that in other sports in South Africa, and there's no difference in the sport of hockey. And in South Africa, I think that we can compete if we are given the opportunity to create the right environment.
Yeah, well, we'll be holding thumbs for you guys and crossing fingers that those who have the power are listening and can actually make that difference. Thank you so much, Jules Barnett, the coach of the women's team as far as South African hockey is concerned. They've qualified for the Olympic Games, but are still waiting SASCOC to give them that go-ahead. Their male counterpart has also confirmed they're spotted to the Games. Now it all goes back to the powers that be. So thank you so much for staying with us. That was Jules Barnett joining us here via Zoom after beating Nigeria 9-0 in the final of the qualifiers. Stay with us right here on SABC News, as Sports Live returns. Welcome back. We continue to monitor Mamelodi Sundowns export in the north of Africa, where they are taking on Morocco's Wydad Casablanca in the first African Football League, first leg final, that is. Later on, we're going to tell you about what their ladies are doing. But first, let's check in on that match now at Wydad Casablanca in Morocco, where it is still goalless after 39 minutes. Let's look through with the commentary and see what was happening there. Mamelodi Sundowns doing South Africa proud. They're the only representative in the tournament of 8 teams. It is the first leg of the African Football League final. This is it. 2 more matches and then the champion, the inaugural champion at that, will be crowned. Will it be Wydad Casablanca or Mamelodi Sundowns? Stay tuned to SABC later on during the week, and we're going to update you as this continues tonight. We're going to let you know more about that match later on. But first, now we are going to switch gears very quickly and invite my next guest from to chat all things Soweto Marathon and all things athletics. But let's tell you who he is first, because the annual Soweto Marathon, it took place today and it was declared a success, at least by the leadership of Athletics South Africa. However, there were a number of challenges prior to the event, including where the race will be televised. James Molloy, as I mentioned, the president of Athletics Africa, is in studio now. He made promises when he took over in the reins in 2021. Now he is a man who is originally from Diepsloot and joins me now. Thank you, sir, for your time. How has it been the last 2 years for you?
For now, everything went very well.
Yeah, so the last 2 years at the helm of Athletics Africa has been going just well.
That's correct, because as you know very well that I was the president of Central Gauteng Athletic, which is the biggest province in South Africa. So for that, it was easy for me when I go to Athletics South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I must correct. I think I said Diepsloot there. You're actually from Diepkloof. Pardon me. Pardon me. I always get the Kloops in the... Yeah, anyway, let's go. So you started with a divided house, one would say. There's a lot of issues with the board members, who's coming in, who's going out. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced?
The biggest challenge is in terms of development. I will start with the development because we have to develop athletes, because most of the senior athletes are going out. So now we have to go to all provinces, because I spoke to the president of all provinces to say, let's try to develop athletes, because now we don't have to depend on few athletes that are there, Wade van Niekerk, Caster and all that. So let's try to get more athletes. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is the sponsorship. We need to get sponsorship so that when we go overseas, because we need to have camps for those athletes, because if they are going overseas, we have to have two weeks or a month for those athletes to be together, because now, time and again, when they arrive there, they don't know each other, especially the relay. If you have seen the relay, they drop the baton because they didn't know each other. So those are the challenges that I'm encountered at the present moment. But it's one of those things, but we'll rectify those ones.
Yeah, I mean, when you started your tenure, the 4-year plan was to improve corporate governance, for example, especially at the National Federation. Have you?
That's correct. So since I came in, most of the federations, especially the regions, they've already have their elections. So they have done with their elections, because I spoke to them to say, please do me a favor, everything must be in order. So everything is in order at the present moment. We don't have challenges in terms of the regions and all that. So we are just waiting for them to produce and to go. So what I did is that I just gave them the scorecard to say, you must achieve 1 and 2 and 3.
Hello, Tishala. You missed your calling. There could have been a principal. But, you know, Soweto Marathon was today. You know, you've got thankfully you've got a sponsor for that. But it was not accessible to free-to-air. Care to elaborate why that is?
That's correct. I just want to thank the African Bank, because at we had a serious problem in terms of sponsorships all the time. But African Bank came at the last minute, and then lucky enough they didn't want to hear what's happening, our squabbles and all that. They said, no, don't worry, we'll come in. So we're very excited because they rescued the situation. So the race went very well this morning, very well. But what I'm excited of is that most of the athletes that won the race are South Africans, because you know, Ethiopia and Kenya, they're very strong. But when I see that young man who won the first prize, I said to myself, at least we are closing the gap. Because if you still remember, 3 weeks back, we have sent the team to Europe to go and participate in the World Championship. They came third. They came third. So it shows that we are closing the gap as time goes on, because I just want to give you 2 years to come. So South Africa will be #1 in the world in terms of the marathon and other things.
Yeah, but that marathon was not free to air.
Pardon?
That marathon, if you don't have DSTV, you were not able to watch it today, so it's a marathon.
I know. I was waiting for that question.
Yes.
Yeah, I was waiting for that question. But anyway, all in all, because we are still negotiating.
Negotiating with the SABC, you mean?
Yeah, we are still going to
How's that going? In what ways the issue?
No, I'm not going to elaborate further, but we are still busy negotiating with SABC about other things to say, where can we meet each other and all that. So that one, at the later stage, I'm just going to, because we are under pressure at the present moment. Because most of the people are phoning and said, no, we can't see it on DSTV and all that. So that's the pressure. So I do understand that most of the people, they don't have DSTV, especially the people from disadvantaged areas. So we said, no, we'll sit down and then negotiate further. And then immediately after we reach the agreement with other party, and then we'll come and report back.
You can say SABC. You're not going to get into trouble, SABC. It is SABC. That's the only accessible. I mean, you know, considering the far reach of SABC, it is an important conversation to have.
That's correct.
So you're not able to take us into confidence how far the conversation is going, and when should we expect an answer between the two parties?
That's correct, because unfortunately I'm not the one who's negotiating. We've got somebody who's negotiating on our behalf, but that particular somebody said will report back to us at the later stage immediately after the reach. I'll come back to you and report back to you.
Okay, because I mean, you did mention that when you started your tenure, you wanted, one of the things that you wanted was like all championships, they need to be accessible
televised.
to as many. Okay, so can we call you back in at the end of the year, early January?
That's correct.
How long are you giving us?
That's correct. Maybe by next January.
Okay, we're going to hold you to account. But let's move on to, before I let you go, something very, I mean, the recent world champs, South African didn't perform very well.
I know about that.
Okay, well, what responsibility, who's taking responsibility for that?
I was waiting for that question. you can understand the first one, it was, you understand, especially the first one, it was Agani. The 100 meters, you can understand it happens to anybody else. And then Ball did that before, Ball did that when false start. And then it came back to the dropping of the baton, and then that one it happens to, America did that before. And then it came to that lady, the one...
It's not the first time though they dropped the baton, so at some point we have to get these guys together.
No, it's true. I was going to answer, I'm going to answer that one. But what I'm saying is that America did that before, twice. I've been watching this. It happened twice. But all in all, most of the time when they arrive, the athletes arrive a week before and all that, and they didn't have enough time. And then I do understand. So what is going to happen is that we are going to have a camp whereby they are going to be there maybe a month before, so that they can know each other, because some of the athletes, most of the athletes are not staying here in South Africa. They're in America, Europe, all over. So what we are going to do is that we must have a camp for a month so that they can know each other better and all that. That's what we're going to do, because now we don't want to lose out, because we should have won that relay or came second. So we are very
won more than that.
Yeah, we are very strong, especially in relays. We are very, very strong. Don't forget, we won the relay somewhere in Canada. We came first.
But so that's one medal. There's other medals that we should have won. I mean, I understand Akani Simbini's full start. That's nothing you can do. But there's other, like Wade Funnicat. What happened with that? Who's taking responsibility for that? I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
So that one, that's a personal matter with Wade, because we were aiming very high. I was aiming very high that Wade is going to win that one. But unfortunately, it's one of those things. I don't know what happened instead. But you must understand that before World Championship, we do have what you call it, those competitions that are happening in Europe. Most of them, the agent, they ask them to run those events, and then it's beyond our control, because they're getting a lot of money, especially those guys. So we said to ourselves that there's nothing that we can do, but we must sit down with them and tell them that country comes first.
Yeah, James Malone, President of Athletics South Africa, tough job that you have there, considering there's 2024 Paris Olympics coming up, and we are definitely as South Africans expecting more than a couple of medals, but all the best to you. Thank you so much for coming through to Sports Live. Let's continue that conversation with what else we have on the show. South African football legend Lucas Radebe was an ambassador for the Europa League Trophy Tour in South Africa recently. It was the first time the prestigious tournament came to Africa. Our reporter Vincent Ntuli had a chat with him about that and so much more.
The UEFA League Trophy is in the country at the moment in Johannesburg, and with me joining here is the South African legend Lucas Radebe. Lucas, welcome to SABC and Sports Live.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great to be here. You know, I mean, it took us how long, you know, to get the trophy here. I mean, a lot of us seeing for the first time. It eluded us playing at the highest level, but then at least we can say we can brag about, you know, bringing it at home, and it took like African players to do so.
And what kind of bringing this kind of trophies, major trophies in the world, due to inspiring youngsters here in South Africa? You know,
I think the most important, because it's about the backing, you know, of this kind of initiative where you have brands, you know, like Enterprise, Kahaya, you know, collaborating with the UEFA Europa trophy, you know, to inspire.
We know Bafana Bafana have got their hands full in the next couple of months. First of all is the World Cup qualifiers for the tournament in USA, Mexico and Canada. You have seen the group. Nigeria is one of the teams there. Let's first talk about that. Do you think we can overcome Nigeria and qualify as number one?
I think we beat Nigeria before, you know, and I think, you know, with football, especially how we have developed the team that we have now, I think there is hope, there is light to see that, you know, at least now that we have qualified, we can contribute.
Let's turn our focus to the AFCON, which is happening in Ivory Coast in a couple of months now. You've seen the groups, Tunisia, Mali, Namibia as well.
Tough groups, eh? You know, it's not going to be easy. I mean, there's teams like Namibia that you think, you know, they're not as good. They qualified. That means, you know, they have improved. If you look at other groups, it's very tough, you know, and it's competitive and it's good for African football.
Let's turn our attention to club matters now. Your former team, Kaizer Chiefs. Yeah. I was actually going through the stats now. They've hired their 8th coach in 5 years. What do you make of the changes in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think for me, it's, I mean, this is a massive brand. You know, this is a brand that has expectation and it's got value and credibility. You know, obviously, consistency is needed in making sure that it competes at the highest level. And to be honest, changing coaches, you know, in a very short period of time, it doesn't help the team or the squad to grow, especially if coaches are coming with their own philosophy. I think it needs a plan, you know, to make sure that where we're heading and how far and where do we want to be in years to come.
Thank you to our reporter there, Vincent Ntuli, with Lucas Radebe. Well, behind me, Mamelodi Sundowns have conceded a goal. That's in the AFL first leg final away in Casablanca. Later on, let me remind you that they ladies, that's the Mamelodi Sundowns ladies, will begin their CAF Champions League campaign against JKT Queens of Tanzania. That match is live on our sister station, SABC Sport, at 10 p.m. But as mentioned, they're going to the first half, and Mamelodi Sundowns are trailing in that AFL final. But that's all we have for you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Well done to the Springboks once again. Themba Bavuma, you're up. Cheers.